Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is the M10 RBFM. It's a Tier 5 French premium turreted tank destroyer. It's located on the north spawn of Tundra, and this one is under the command of krimaj72 of the T-72 clan. Game on! Well, a very familiar tank destroyer. Very good one to play actually, because it does generate a lot of credits and a lot of XP as well. And of course it's got a decent fire rate. Now 76mm main gun, capable of doing 115 alpha, 130mm of pen with standard ammo, which means yes, you can use standard ammo. Lots of players try to use the premium, which is more expensive and will do 170mm of pen. So you can see it's a fair bit of difference there. 40mm extra pen just for using the premium rounds, but you don't need to use them because it's actually very effective. Okay, aiming towards the miners' village. Now the M10, based on the hull from the M4, they made a huge number of them, 6,406 of them. And of course a fair number were actually given to the French, the Free French, to use as the Marines, the French Marines tank force. So they were their backup and support. I'm thinking, you see the film The Longest Day, you'll see that there was a French attack on a casino, a famous casino, and they actually had to call up tank support to take out a 105mm gun. I think it was a 105mm that was actually mounted inside the casino itself on the ground floor, and it was firing out at the troops from a kind of bunker arrangement that the Germans had built. And they called in the tanks. They were French Marines that were doing the original attack, and then they called in the tanks to actually deal with the obstacle, what was holding them up. Okay, Valentine AT takes a direct hit for 112, and there's the first kill shot for Krimaj. Of course, the most famous incident involving the M10 RBFMs is the one with the Panther tank on the Champs-Élysées, which of course many of you will know is that the M10s, or rather the French, were given the honour of capturing Paris, which had actually been made a free city. The Germans had effectively were supposed to have evacuated, so they didn't actually destroy any French monuments, but they didn't evacuate completely, and there were some German forces still in Paris, including one Panther tank, which was located a particular position on the Champs-Élysées. And of course, the M10 crew actually spotted the Panther, and they knew precisely how far away it was, because of course they knew the length of the Champs-Élysées from the Tour de France, and so they actually took him out from long range away. And I don't think the Panther even saw them after he was pumping rounds into them, just like this Krimaj is doing right now. And I think he got more than one shot into the Panther and completely disabled it. So that Panther wasn't fighting anymore. You see how effective this thing is. It's the rapid fire rate, actually. 2.97 seconds is the book reload, but look at this, 2.62. You can really get a fast reload on this tank, and does do incredibly well. These are very powerful. If you ever come up against one of these, then you need to be very careful. Of course, one of the bad things about it is speed. It's not particularly fast, 48 kilometers an hour forward speed, 12 in reverse, and it doesn't maneuver very well. That cruiser Mark IV found out how bad it was. Doesn't maneuver very well. Its traverse is fairly slow, but it's the gun that's so good, that number of shells it can get off. Oh, we've got a KV-1SA. I was looking up the stats on that just the other day, trying to understand how the 212A and the KV-1SA were related engine-wise. Well, he got the kill. That's his first kill in the game, actually. T1 Heavy going off in the distance. Oh, he's actually coming towards us. So we're one tank down on the enemy. There's that cruiser Mark IV again. Now remember, that's the 4-shot autoloader. And the enemy Wolverine, which is basically the same vehicle, just an American colours and not a premium, Oh, and we just received a round from the T1 Heavy. Now that's a 75mm round, but it was only 97 hit points. So it could be a 3-inch gun on the T1. Okay, Cruiser Mark 4, take him out first. Gets one in. Did he track him? No, but he's out the game anyway. And he's using this cover, this natural cover, quite well. Ow! But he's taking around from behind because he didn't think about the Wolverine. And this is the other bad thing. You see it overcorrected there when it turned the turret. The traverse is actually quite low. Oh, he's got a fire! And he gets the kill shot, but he has lost a lot of hit points. And he's lost his driver. I hope he's noticed that because he can put the driver back in. You'll need that driver so he can fully move about. Yes, he has fixed his driver. Now it's 4 versus 2. And the only enemy left are the Churchill 1 and the T1 Heavy. He's approaching them from the north. Now, it probably wouldn't be a good idea to go along the bridge. It might be better off to pick them off one by one, and to do so by going down these routes along the or chines down to the river. Okay, he's trying to get a position where he can shoot at them. Oh, now you can see the T1 Heavies over there being proxy spotted by his teammate, and now he's been spotted by the Churchill. Or did he? No, he wasn't spotted by the Churchill. He's being spotted by the T1, funnily enough. And he puts 3 rounds into the Churchill 1. Can he get a kill? Yes, he does. And that is the last kill of the game because the others have sorted out the T1 Heavy. Well, that was a good game for krimaj72 in the M10 RBFM. He got a first-class tanker out of that game, as well as a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he ended up with 11. He got a fighter badge for taking out at least 4 tanks. He got 4 exactly, as well as a fire for effect for doing more damage than the hit points for his own vehicle. And he did get the high caliber in that game for doing the most damage in that game overall. And if we look at team score, let's have a look. The highest damage was 2,389. Nobody else got above 2,000 hit points. Krimaj was the only one. The second highest on damage was the T-28E with the F-30 gun. That's the 85mm gun on a T-28 tank. And he got 1,289. And the next one after that was the T-1 Heavy on the enemy team with 1,221. When it came to kills, he shares that one as well, but he shares it with the T1 Heavy tank on his own team and the T1 Heavy tank on the enemy team. In fact, the person who killed the T1 Heavy on the enemy team was the T1 Heavy on our team, funnily enough. Yep, I saw that flash up right at the end. So 4 kills apiece for each of those players. 3 kills went to the Cruiser Mark 4 and to the T-28E with the F-30 gun. And when it came to base XP, Krimaj got that one as well. So he's got the top in all 3 columns. Yes, because he had the highest damage, highest number of kills, and highest base XP. 1,296. He's the only player to get over 1,000 base. 976 went to the T-28E with the F-30 gun, and 716 went to the T1 Heavy on his own team. He fired 28 rounds in that game, 23 direct hits and 22 penetrations. Damage of 2,389 hit points, of which 970 were at more than 300 meters. 5 hits received from the enemy, 4 penetrations, 1 non-penetration. Well, the shots that were coming in at him that did penetrate were, I'm afraid, from another M10, just not a French one. It was actually an American Wolverine who managed to get behind him and pump him full of 76mm rounds. The armor on the Wolverine is very, very poor indeed. On the M10, for that matter, RBFM, it's very, very poor. And so shells are just going to go carved straight through, especially 76mm rounds. 60 hit points of damage blocked by armor. That's for shells that went through the shot or hit the tracks. 1 enemy vehicle spotted, 9 enemy vehicles damaged, 4 killed, and 196 hit points of spotting assist. Now, he earned a profit from the game of 57,437 credits. And yes, this is a good reason to play this tank if you are short of credits, because you can earn decent credits off decent games, which don't last too long. This one, 6 minutes, 28 seconds. And the fact that you have got that 76mm gun firing very quickly, you can soon rack up a lot of damage. He also picked up 8,554 experience points, and he got a personal missions payout off that one as well. So yes, you can not only produce good crews, by actually using an M10 RBFM. You could possibly even use those crews to actually put them into Arty's further up the line, although most people would try to use their VP crew further up the line. But in actual fact, I do know, and I can validate the fact that the crews of the M10 RBFMs were in actual fact trained for being able to fire in gun support or artillery support. They actually had a sextant inside the vehicle, an artillery sextant, which enabled them to triangulate their position and also to be able to fire accurately in basically fire support. So yes, these guys were trained very, very well. They were Marines after all, but they were trained so well that they were basically artillerymen, which is kind of odd because it's the same thing with the Stug. The Stugs were actually crewed by artillerymen. And that's why the Stugs were so accurate. It's because these guys were excellent shots and they knew how to triangulate their position and get accurate fire support on the enemy. So yes, unusual. The M10 RBFMs are good. And really, it would be very nice if Wargaming were to consider that, and we have suggested this in the past, a crew skill for artillery support, so that you could have a vehicle like this, the M10 RBFM, but it would have the ability to go to the battle assistant and shoot long distance at an enemy that's unseen by the actual M10 itself, but is spotted by one of his teammates further away. So if you were to have this skill, you'd have to work your way up the skill and generate the skill for the appropriate crewman, like the gunner and the commander. But if you were to generate such a skill, then it could mean like vehicles such as the M10, the Achilles, even tanks like the Su-152 and other vehicles that were used by the Soviets for fire support could actually use Battle Assistant, but only if they've trained the crews in it so that they can then do indirect fire. And what you'd actually get then is you get more players actually playing their vehicle as an Arty. And then if they play it as an Arty and they like it, they might actually play Arty for real. And I suppose that's what Wargaming fears the most, is that you turn all these tank players into Arty players. But it certainly would be interesting because there's a lot of players already who try playing indirect fire with tank destroyers. And obviously, you know that there used to be a term called playing a round of golf, where you would actually try to play an M10 or something similar to lob the shell at the enemy who was just over a ridgeline and try and hit them. In fact, that used to be carried on. Quite a few streamers, including Sircon, funnily enough, would actually do that, and they would play a round of golf. Even though they despised Arties, they were actually enjoying playing their tank destroyers as Arties. So anyway, maybe in the future, Wargaming will consider it, because it might increase the number of players who want to play Arty instead of playing tanks, and it might actually give tank players an appreciation of how hard Arty players do work to try and win the game for them. If you enjoyed that replay, please give this video a like, do subscribe to our channel, leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm, and thank you for watching.